So, here's the deal. I've put together 19 indie games you should replay right now. And yes, every single one is at least 10 years old. Which is wild, because 2015 feels like it was 2 years ago? But no, time is cruel. Anyway, these games are still playable today. They're fun, and there are some cool lessons in here for beginner devs about design, art, and engines. Let's get into it. Braid is the one with the time rewinding mechanic where you're basically Mario but with an existential crisis. It was made in XNA, which was Microsoft's now dead game framework. Jonathan Blow built the mechanic first, rewinding time, and then designed puzzles around it, squeezing out every possible variation. The painterly art style gave it a timeless storybook vibe. For developers, it's worth studying how the fragmented narrative mirrors the puzzle design. Limbo is a moody black and white platformer that's both depressing and stunning. It was made in a custom engine, with visuals inspired by film noir and silhouette art. The genius here is minimalism, just black, white and grey, yet it conveys danger and mystery. The animation sells weight and tension, especially in puzzles. And yes, the giant spider scene traumatized an entire generation. Super Meat Boy is the platformer that will absolutely destroy your patience and your controller. It was built in C# using XNA, and its biggest strength is its super tight instant controls. The game's philosophy is hard but fair, where you die 1,000 times but always feel like it's your fault. The crude, bloody art style gave it an identity that stood out in the indie crowd. For developers, it's proof that responsiveness matters more than fancy graphics. Bastion is the game with the smooth narrator who comments in literally everything you do. It was built in XNA and the narration wasn't tracked on. The developers designed levels around the script. It's a rare case of storytelling and gameplay syncing up perfectly. The watercolor style backgrounds gave it a dreamy storybook look, and the soundtrack, still one of the best in indie history. Hotline Miami is fast, brutal, and soaked in a neon blood. It was built in GameMaker, proving that flashy tech isn't necessary if the gameplay is sharp. Restarting after death is instant, which keeps the flow addictive and unforgiving. The pounding synth soundtrack is half the experience. It makes every kill feel like a rhythm game, and the trippy story forces you to question why you enjoy the violence. World of Goo is a physics-based puzzle game where you build structures out of sticky blobs. It was made in a custom engine by just 2 developers. The tactile feel of stretching and wobbling goo is what makes it satisfying. The art style is whimsical and a little creepy, like a Tim Burton cartoon. For small teams, it's proof that polish and personality can outweigh scale. The Binding of Isaac is a roguelike twin-stick shooter made in Flash. Its dungeons are random, deaths are permanent, and the item combos create endless chaos. The grotesque art style turned off some people but made it instantly memorable. Procedural generation plus item synergies is a design combo that never gets old. And, despite its grim themes, it became a massive cult hit. Spelunky is the roguelike platformer that redefined chaos and fairness. Built in GameMaker, it combines randomly generated caves with deadly but consistent rules. Every death feels like a lesson, not a cheap shot. The secrets and shortcuts add endless replay value. And the high-definition remake's clean pixel art shows how readability can make or break chaotic games. Terraria is often called 2D Minecraft, but it's more like Minecraft plus boss fights and hundreds of weapons. It was built in XNA and launched with modest ambitions, then exploded thanks to its updates. The pixel art is simple but functional, making space for the sheer amount of content. The progression keeps you hooked longer than you'd expected, and it's proof that iteration on an existing idea can still feel fresh. Lone Survivor is a psychological horror game made in Flash that punches way above its graphical weight. It uses pixel art but manages to feel genuinely disturbing. The atmosphere is driven by sound and pacing, not visuals. Dialogue is sparse, which makes you fill in the blanks yourself. Dust is the beautiful hand-drawn RPG platformer made almost entirely by one person, Dean Dodrell. It was built in XNA and plays like an animated film you can control. The combat system is flashy, fast and satisfying. The fluid animation is where the game really shines. Dodrell leaned on his strengths as an animator. It's a great lesson in using your unique skill set as your secret weapon. Monaco is a top-down haste game about pulling off chaotic robberies with friends. It was made in XNA and thrives on a cop mayhem. Each character has a unique ability, which makes teamwork unpredictable and hilarious. The neon minimalist visuals make it easy to read the screen even in total chaos. And the soundtrack ramps up as the haste spirals out of control, which is just perfect. Dear Esther is the game that basically invented the walking simulator level. It was built in the Source engine, best known for Half-Life mods. The focus here is pure storytelling. You just explore an island and hear a fragmented narrative. The visuals were groundbreaking at the time, with realistic landscapes that felt alive. And it proved that stripping away mechanics can sometimes add more impact. Don't Starve is a survival game with a spooky, Tim Burton-inspired art style. Built in Clay's proprietary engine, it looks like a creepy paper cutout cartoon. The permadeath and crafting systems make every run tense and addictive. The hand-drawn animations give it personality, even when you're starving to death. And it pretty much set the tone for modern survival crafting games. Torchlight is the Diablo-style dungeon crawler made by ex-Diablo devs. Built in the Ogre engine, it distilled the addictive loot loop into a more accessible package. The bright cartoony visuals made it approachable compared to Diablo's gloom. And the pet that sells your loot for you? Still one of the best quality of life mechanics ever. And it shows how refining a proven formula can still feel fresh. Machinarium is a gorgeous, hand-drawn point-and-click adventure. Made in Flash, it's proof that old tools can make timeless art. The puzzles are quirky, sometimes illogical, but always charming. The robot characters communicate without words, yet ooze personality. And the soothing soundtrack balances the brain-twisting puzzles. Thomas Was Alone is the game that made you care about rectangles. Built in early Unity, it showed how character writing and narration can turn simple shapes into relatable heroes. The levels reinforce each rectangle's unique ability in clever ways. The narration from Danny Wallace adds warmth and humor to the whole thing. And it's a masterclass in making players care with almost no visuals. Frozen Synapse is a tactical strategy game where you and your opponent plan moves simultaneously. Built in a custom engine, it's a brilliant experiment with time as a mechanic. The vector-style visuals are clean and easy to read, which is crucial in a strategy game. Matches feel like mind games, where you're always second-guessing your opponent, and the multiplayer gives it endless replay value. Amnesia is the horror game that made hiding scarier than fighting. It was built in the HPL2 engine, which allowed physics-based interactions like pulling doors open by hand. Making away weapons made players feel utterly helpless. The sound design alone is enough to make you panic, and it basically set the template for modern survival horror. So, Those are 19 old indie games, 10 years or older, that are absolutely worth replaying today. They're not just fun, they're also full of lessons about mechanics, design, and how to make small ideas big. It doesn't matter if you're just gaming or thinking about making your own game. These titles are like a crash course in indie creativity. If you like this video, consider checking out for more stuff, maybe subscribing or maybe not. I'm not your boss. Thanks for watching.